To me, what we saw was a glimpse of why this needs to end. This LeBron, Luka, LeBron. We know it's Luka's team, but isn't that? Because I think in his subconscious, he is so used to being alpha. He's so used to being – we saw it. It's not like we're new to this. We saw what he did in Dallas for 5 years, 6 years. Dominant, taking shots, big shots, all that. And I think there was a part of him that just simply, even if it was a 5% of his brain that pump faked, like, LeBron, what would he – and he just gives it to LeBron. And LeBron, like, you're wide open. And it was almost kind of a reverse Spider-Man situation where, like, sure. Wait, you, because there's been times where we all thought.
LeBron James lost a home game to a shorthanded Orlando Magic team. And a few minutes after the game, when a reporter stuck up to him and asked him about his team's performance over the last 3 weeks, LeBron James said he did not even know what day it was when he woke up that morning. He told the reporter they were asking the wrong guy. That was not a joke. That was not sarcasm. That was a direct quote from a man who has spent 22 years in the NBA building a reputation as the smartest, most prepared, most locked-in leader the sport has ever seen. And sports commentator Kelvin Washington watched that press conference, watched that game, watched that entire performance, and went on record with a demand that a lot of people in the mainstream sports media have been dancing around for months. Remove LeBron James from this Lakers roster. Not next summer, not after the season, right now, before any more damage gets done to what could be a real championship window built around Luka Doncic. And the more you look at everything that happened in that game, everything said after it, and all the numbers sitting behind it, the harder it becomes to argue that Kelvin Washington is wrong. Let us start with the game itself, because before we get to the quote and the press conference and all the noise that followed, the basketball has to be understood. The Los Angeles Lakers were playing at home, at Crypto.com Arena, in front of their own fans, against an Orlando Magic team that was missing 2 starters. Jalen Suggs was out. Franz Wagner was out. 2 of Orlando's most important players were not even in the building. This was a game that the Lakers were supposed to win comfortably. This was a game that should have been a statement. Coming off a 22-point loss to the Boston Celtics 3 days earlier, the Lakers needed something. They needed a win that felt convincing. They needed to show their fans and the rest of the Western Conference that they were not a team falling apart. Instead, they took a 13-point second-half lead and gave it back piece by piece, possession by possession, until Orlando walked out of their building with a 110-109 victory. The Lakers dropped to 6th in the Western Conference, 2 straight losses, and the way they lost was somehow worse than the fact that they lost. The defensive breakdown that ended the game is the place to start because it tells the whole story. With 34.6 seconds left on the clock, the Magic were down by 1 point. They needed a basket. Desmond Bane had the ball on the perimeter. Now here is the part that matters. Desmond Bane had gone 0 for 5 from three-point range through the first 3 quarters of that game. 0 for 5. He was not making anything from outside. He was cold. But anyone who has watched enough basketball knows what happens when a shooter like Bane gets a clean, open rhythm look in the 4th quarter of a tight game. That is a franchise legend using direct language to describe a fundamental mistake that a player with 22 years of experience should never make in that situation. But the game was still alive. There was still a chance. The Lakers got the ball back, and LeBron and Luka connected for a dunk. Lakers back up by 1. 6.7 seconds left. Magic ball. Paolo Banchero missed a pull-up shot on the other end. The ball was there, up for grabs, the most important rebound of the game, and nobody in a Lakers uniform fought for it. Not LeBron, not DeAndre Ayton, nobody. Wendell Carter Jr., Orlando's backup center, a player not known for being dominant, not a player that anyone would describe as a force, outworked every single Laker on that floor for that basketball. He tipped it in. Magic lead. Final seconds, game over. The Lakers lost a game they were leading by 13 points in the second half, at home, against a short-handed opponent because LeBron James gambled on a defensive play and because nobody on the roster fought hard enough for the most important rebound of the night. Orlando out-rebounded the Lakers 47-39. They grabbed 13 offensive rebounds. Those 13 offensive rebounds turned into 15 second-chance points in a one-point game. They outscored the Lakers 58-50 in the paint, against a team that gets paid more money collectively than any team in the history of the sport. Orlando's backup center won them the game, and the most experienced player on the home team could not tell a reporter what day of the week it was afterward. J.J. Redick came to the press conference and described the loss as deflating, not infuriating, not unacceptable, deflating, like air slowly leaving something until it collapses. And here is the part that should make every single Lakers fan sit up straight. After 57 games played, after Thanksgiving, after Christmas, after the All-Star break, J.J. Redick admitted in that press conference that this team has not found its identity yet. He said he thinks they will eventually.
57 games. This team has played more than two-thirds of the regular season, and the head coach is still using the word eventually when talking about what kind of team they are. Phil Jackson knew what his teams were by Thanksgiving. Every championship-level coach in the history of this franchise built their identity early and built around it. J.J. Redick is still waiting. And the reason he is still waiting, the reason this roster cannot find a clear identity, has been sitting in the lineup every single night dressed in purple and gold. The presence of LeBron James is not making this team better. The numbers say so, the games say so, and now the press conference footage says so too. Now let us talk about the final possession, because this moment alone explains everything. Everything about the dynamic between LeBron and Luka. Everything about how this partnership has been going all season. Luka Doncic caught the inbound pass on the left wing with 6.7 seconds remaining. Wide open, clean look at a three-pointer that would have won the game. He hesitated. He picked up his dribble. He got doubled by Banchero and Anthony Black. He passed the ball back to LeBron James, who was standing in the corner covered by Jonathan Isaac. LeBron took the pass. He launched a contested, off-balance fadeaway three at the buzzer. It hit the rim and fell away. Game over. And that is where the story should have ended, as a simple basketball play, but it did not end there. Because what happened at the podium after the game made the moment so much bigger and so much more uncomfortable. LeBron sat down with the reporters, he was asked about the final play, and in 3 sentences, he mentioned Luka's name, Luka's balance, or Luka's decision-making 4 separate times. He said he thought Luka had a good look. He said it looked like Luka kind of lost his balance. He said Luka did not have a rhythm with the ball. He said he himself was kind of off balance when Luka gave it to him. 4 times in 3 sentences. He never once acknowledged that a 41-year-old veteran taking a contested off-balance fadeaway 3 in the corner with no time left is not the execution of a winning play. He never said anything about his own read of the situation. He never mentioned that he himself had made the decision to shoot that shot. He framed the entire play around what Luka did or did not do. And while he was talking, the camera found Luka's face. 5 words formed on his lips that everyone in the building could see without needing to hear any sound. People watching at home could see it. Everyone watching the footage later could see it. And then the reporter walked over to Luka. He said 4 words. That is on me. 4 words. He did not break down what happened. He did not talk about LeBron's balance or LeBron's decision or LeBron's rhythm. He said it was on him, and he walked away. A 25-year-old took complete responsibility for a loss that a 41-year-old helped create through a defensive gamble that gave up the go-ahead basket and a collective rebounding failure that handed Orlando the win. And the 41-year-old sat at the microphone and talked about his 25-year-old teammate's balance. Something else came out after the game, too. People watching the sideline footage closely, watching the lip reading after the play happened, noticed what Luka said to his teammates right after the final possession ended. He said LeBron told him to pass the ball, so he passed the ball. Think about that. Luka was wide open, the shot was there, and he passed it because LeBron told him to. And then LeBron sat at the podium and talked about Luka not having a rhythm and Luka losing his balance. Kelvin Washington pointed all of this out and connected it to a larger pattern that he said has been visible all season. This is not a one-game problem. This is a structural problem that shows up in the wins, the losses, the rotations, and apparently the post-game press conferences too. Kelvin Washington's argument was direct and it was clear. LeBron James is not helping this team become what it needs to become. He is not elevating Luka Doncic. He is not giving the Lakers a better chance in the playoffs. He is actively getting in the way of what could be a real championship run built around the most gifted offensive player in the sport right now. Every possession LeBron uses, every shot he takes, every play that runs through him instead of through Luka is a possession that does not belong to him anymore. This is not the 2012.
This is not the 2016 Cavaliers. This is not a team where LeBron James is the best player and everything flows from him. This is supposed to be Luka's team. And the fact that a 41-year-old is still occupying space and influence and usage that belongs to a 25-year-old generational talent is not a situation that fixes itself. It has to be addressed, and Washington said it has to be addressed now, not in the summer, not after the playoffs end with a first-round exit, now. And the numbers back up everything Washington said, not opinions, numbers. Luka Doncic is averaging 32.8 points, 7.8 rebounds, and 8.6 assists per game. Those are MVP-level numbers. Those are historically great numbers for a player at any age. He is doing his job at an elite level every single night, regardless of the result around him. The team is failing around him and behind him, not because of him. But here is where it gets really important. LeBron James missed the first 14 games of the season with a sciatica issue. He was not on the floor. And what happened during those 14 games? The Lakers went 11-4. 11 wins and 4 losses without LeBron James. Luka and Austin Reeves were having 40-point games. The team had energy. They had a clear offensive identity. They had flow and confidence and a real sense of who they were. The roster breathed. Players knew their roles. Games had a purpose and a direction. And then LeBron came back, and the numbers shifted immediately in a way that the data has been confirming every single week since. When Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves play together without LeBron on the floor, the team's net rating is plus 18. That is an elite number. That is a championship-level number. When all 3 of them are on the floor together, the team becomes one of the worst offensive units in the entire league. Brian Windhurst reported the differential between those 2 lineups at 20 points per 100 possessions. 20 points per 100 possessions. That is not a small gap. That is not something you explain away or adjust around. That is one of the largest lineup splits in the whole NBA, and it has not improved over time. It has stayed consistent because the fundamental problem is consistent. 2 players who both need the ball. 2 players who both need space and freedom and offensive ownership. 2 players who are both better when the game flows through them. You cannot have both at the same time. The math does not work. The floor spacing does not work. The ball movement does not work. And on defense, 2 players who have both been questioned for their defensive effort sharing the same lineup means the other team has 2 clear paths to attack every single play. According to reporting from Bleacher Report, the Lakers organization has already quietly started doing internal planning that centers around Luka Doncic as the cornerstone of the franchise going forward. The conversations have happened inside that building. The thinking has shifted. Everyone inside the organization knows what the direction is. The only thing that has not happened yet is someone with real power saying it out loud and making the move. Kelvin Washington said it out loud from the outside. And the question is, how many more losses, how many more blown leads, how many more post-game press conferences where a 41-year-old talks about a 25-year-old's balance the organization needs to see before they act on what they already know internally? Now let us talk about the other side of that game, because it matters for the bigger picture. Paolo Banchero scored 36 points for Orlando. He was 23 years old. He walked into a road building, short-handed, missing teammates, and he was the best player on the floor. He got to the free throw line 11 times and made 10 of them. He scored most of his points inside the paint by being physical and going right at the Lakers' defense without any hesitation. And when the game was over, he did not sit at the podium and talk about what his teammates should have done differently. He said he knew his team needed him to step up, and he stepped up. He was accountable and he was dominant, and he was 23 years old doing it on the road. That is the contrast that makes the whole story so uncomfortable. A 23-year-old came into Hollywood and outworked, out-hustled, and outlasted a team full of veterans with more money, more experience, more talent on paper, and apparently less desire to do the hard things. Orlando came in short-handed and hungry and left with a win, and the most experienced player on the losing side could not remember what day of the week it was. There are 25 games left in the regular season as of right now. The Phoenix Suns are coming next. After that, Oklahoma City, Denver, and Houston are all watching from higher spots in the standings.
The play-in tournament is not something that people are speculating about anymore. It is a real and realistic outcome for this team based on where they are sitting and the direction they are trending. Playing in the play-in tournament means Luka Doncic would have to win a game just to get into the actual playoffs. That is not acceptable for the player bus called the new face of the franchise. That is not acceptable for a roster built around someone averaging over 32 points a game. That is not acceptable for a franchise with the history and the expectations of the Los Angeles Lakers. And the deeper question here is not just about this season. It is about what letting this continue costs the franchise long term. Every game Luka Doncic spends in a situation where his development is being slowed down, where his instincts are being second-guessed, where his natural leadership of this team is being shared or complicated by someone else's presence, is a game that does not come back. Luka is 25 years old. He is in the early part of what should be a dominant prime that lasts well into his 30s. The window that is in front of the Lakers right now is real and it is valuable. But windows do not stay open forever, and spending the first year of the Luka era figuring out how to make a 41-year-old fit into a system that works better without him is not a good use of that window. The roster has things to work with going forward. There is cap space opening up, there are draft picks available. The building blocks for something real are there. Austin Reeves is one of the most versatile and valuable players in the league. The supporting pieces can be improved in the offseason, but none of that means anything if the fundamental problem at the center of the lineup is not fixed. Because you can add players around Luka, you can build the perfect roster around him, but if he is still sharing the floor every night with someone whose usage and presence creates more problems than it solves, the additions will not matter as much as they should. Kelvin Washington was not alone in what he said. He was simply the loudest and most direct voice saying what a lot of people in and around basketball have been thinking for weeks. The lineup data has been saying it. The game results have been saying it. The rebounding numbers from Tuesday night said it, with a 47-39 final count. The fact that J.J. Redick is still using the word eventually 57 games into the season when describing when this team might find its identity is saying it. The fact that Luka Doncic is leading the league in turnovers in part because of a ball-sharing situation that forces unnecessary reads and decisions is saying it. The fact that the net rating drops by 20 points per 100 possessions when LeBron joins Luka and Austin Reeves on the floor is saying it loudly with pure mathematics. And then LeBron James sat down at that podium and said he did not know what day it was when he woke up that morning. And in a way, that one sentence captured everything. Because this is not just about Tuesday's game, this is about where this franchise is and where it needs to go. The Lakers are a results-based organization. Jeannie Buss said clearly that this franchise is about winning and about adding trophies. She called Luka Doncic the new face of the franchise. She said every future move would be built around his success. Those are not casual words from a woman who runs the most famous basketball organization in the world. Those are commitments. And right now, the way things are set up, the roster is not living up to those commitments. The playoffs are less than 2 months away. The standings are moving. The Western Conference is getting harder by the week. And the most experienced player on the Lakers told the world he did not know what day it was.
Luka Doncic said 4 words after the loss: "That is on me." He took accountability. He did not explain. He did not deflect. He said it was on him and he walked away. That is the accountability of a franchise leader. That is the mentality of someone who understands what it means to carry an organization. A 25-year-old showed the whole league what accountability looks like and then left the room. And the conversation about who this team is built around and what direction it needs to go in should be crystal clear after watching that moment. Kelvin Washington said it. The numbers say it. The game said it. The press conference said it. The play-in tournament looming in the standings says it. The only question left is whether the people inside the Lakers building are going to say it out loud and do something about it before April arrives and another season slips through their fingers.